Thanks,
It always
Craig.
surprises me how loud Craig is when he is the room. It's very, it's like it's a notch above everyone else's audio. It's very annoying. But
He's
hello,
just
welcome.
letting us know he's here.
Yeah,
He
he's
needs
making
to
up
be
for the fact
very.
that he's quiet for the rest of the episode.
He's not much of a contributor to the podcast itself, is he?
He's behind the
He's
scenes
very-
I hope
support.
not.
Yeah. This is Craig's podcast. Welcome back to Total Baloney, everybody. And this week we have another guest. Welcome to the podcast, Dane from Dane's Theme Park Life.
Yeah.
Hello, guys. Oh, thank you. That's so nice. It's the best applause I've gotten today. It's the only applause I've gotten today.
Well, that's terrible to hear because I think you deserve a lot more applause. There should be
That's
people
very
out there
kind.
applauding. How's your theme park life going at the moment?
Yeah, look, it's definitely a hobby, but I love it. So I've always loved theme parks ever since I can remember. So I grew up in Brisbane, and the Gold Coast was always our family holiday destination. And for as long as I can remember, we've been visiting theme parks, going to Wet and Wild for swimming club breakups, going to Dream World and having just wanting to have my birthday there, to being scared by Beetlejuice and running down Main Street at Movie World when I was a little youngster. Have always loved them. And something about me as well is that I've never actually had a real job. I've either worked in theme parks or in radio, and I did a bit of Disney Cruise Line thrown in as well. So I've never actually held a 9 to 5. I'm just a giant man child. And I find that the best way to describe myself is Phil Dunphy from Modern Family, is who I am as a person. So, and what I've sort of tried to do with Dane, because I moved around a lot for work and radio, and when I finally moved back, so I live and work in Toowoomba now, which is about an hour 45 from Brisbane, maybe like an hour 45, 2 hours to the coast. And one of the first things I did when I bought back, actually, I found out I got the job. The first thing I did was to buy a one pass and had a yearly pass to Dreamworld. Was the very first thing I did before I even told my parents I was moving back to Queensland.
So quite literally,
That's
you have
amazing.
a theme park life. Dane's theme park life is no lie. Your life is literally theme parks.
Yeah. And since and obviously being in Toowoomba, I can't get there every weekend or anything like that. And what I try to do with it is I just try to have fun. So I try to see things through my daughter's eyes. I've got a 4-year-old daughter and an 18-month-old, and the 4-year-old's starting to get into it a little bit more. Well, my wife says brainwashed. I say she's getting into it. I measure her, every 2 weeks to see how tall she's getting, but put that aside. I literally try to get there as much as I can, but I like you guys know, it's important to be different. You got to find your point of difference. You've got Jags, who is just amazing at the update videos, and so is Adrian from AU Theme Park Fan and Ogre as well. Riley's sort of got that crazy sort of this is how not to do stuff sort of sorted. So I just try to find my own niche. I try to keep all my videos and my sort of content to under 90 seconds if I can, and I do it strictly for Instagram. As I said, I got 2 daughters. I got no time to sit down and edit a 6-hour video on YouTube. I can do it. I do it all on my phone. I film it. I edit it. I get it up as soon as I can. And I just do it as a bit of a hobby project because I'm passionate about it. And I absolutely love the theme parks. And my wife absolutely hates them. It's so interesting.
That's a perfect dynamic. It's like
I am glad that someone else is bringing the Daggy Dad vibe to the theme park and roller coaster vlogging vlogosphere of Australia. So I appreciate someone else being part of the Daggy Dad vibes. Even though I'm not technically a real dad, I've got the vibes.
Yeah, no, I'm here for it, Kieran. I feel like, yeah, you got to find your niche, right? You guys know that better than anyone. You both got your own sort of challenges going on. That's the most important thing is find. And look, I do the odd update video, but I'm not like in the level of, we all know what Jags is like and Adrian as well and Ogre, what those guys do. And to the Facebook one, Theme Park Social Network, maybe I'm not entirely sure. It's on my head, but you just got to find your niche, and I just try to have fun and talk about experiences because I can't always go to opening nights of things like White Christmas or Fright Nights or Happy Halloween. So you got to find your own sort of video idea, I suppose, and just find your niche. And mine's about experiences and just having fun with it, and that's sort of what I try to do. And that's, I suppose, when you set out to do your challenge, Jake. Like how did that come about? Like, did you just go, I want to travel and ride coasters? Like, it's a crazy thing to think about what you're doing.
It kind of was a little bit like that. I've always been obsessed with the idea that I would travel long term and try and see as much of the world as I could. I've always been a bit of a geography nerd as well. So this kind of idea of I want to be one of the rare people that visits every country in the world. That's kind of always dream in the back of my head. And then decided after leaving my job at Luna Park Sydney, I decided I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a year or two or something like that. I was trying to decide where I was going to travel to, and then one day I kind of just woke up and the ideas clicked together, and I was like, you know what? Let's try and do something crazy while I'm still young and single.
Yeah, like, but it's just to get to every country you want to ride a coaster in? That's right, isn't it?
That's the goal, yeah. A coaster in every country, or every country that has coasters anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like that, obviously, and that's, I think, you got the time, you've got some money, you've got the single life, you can go and do those sort of experiences, right? So, and I think that's why with the stuff I do now, I try to build around my daughter to some extent. I'm a bit cautious about putting her on social media and that type of thing, but like we put it with my wife and just doing those experiences and doing that would be amazing. And like, Kieran, what you're trying to do every coaster in Australia?
Yeah. That was a big thing for me was, I met Jake through his videos and, he'd previously ridden every coaster in Australia beforehand. And that was a big inspiration for me getting out post-lockdown. I was a bit of a shut-in at the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a big inspiration for me to just sort of get out and travel the country and, give me a creative project, which was something that I was really lacking at the time. And being a bigger person, I found that there wasn't really much resources in Australia, at least, that gave, patrons information on what it would be like if you're a bigger person trying to ride these roller coasters. So I figured, build it and they will come.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's awesome. I've seen a couple of US content creators do that sort of thing, but you're right, no one in Australia has tried to do that. And I think that is really cool. Talking about being a bigger person, I'm actually like 6'4", but about 70 kilos wringing wet. So I actually got height checked the other day at Jet Rescue, and I bent my knees thinking I could beat the height stick. Like you try to get a kid taller. I'm a 40-year-old man trying to shorten myself to go on a roller coaster, and I caught myself doing that. And then I thought to myself, is this what your life's become, Dane? Is this you trying to become shorter just to go on Jet Rescue, which I think is probably one of the better coasters in Australia? But I'm just like, luckily I fit under because I think I'm 192, so I've got like 3 centimeters. But I make sure I wear the smallest shoes in the world. But I could have, when I got height checked, people were like, oh, that's funny you're getting height checked. I was like, I'm not laughing. Just get me on the ride.
Yeah. That's when I went to the Gold Coast, I wore the most worn out Converse shoes I have that had absolutely barely any soles left on them. There were holes in the bottom. I was like, have as thin as possible between me and the actual ground.
Yeah, I'm here for that. That is everything. And when I see the height limit, I'm that worried that Jungle Rush is going to have a max height that I'm not going to be able to go on it, and I'm not looking forward to that, and I hope that's not the case.
It
I
should
can't
be
imagine.
okay, I think.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be any more restrictive than like Roadrunner, because I think the car, or at least the restraints, appear to be the exact same restraints.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
they
I'm
are.
good for Roadrunner. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear because I did do the walk of shame at Boots Banana Boogie with my daughter, and my knees wouldn't fit in, so I had to get out. I was locked in, and I was that guy that made the slow ops. I also have worked in theme parks, so as you have, Jake, Kieran, I'm not sure if you have or not, but like. I was that guy holding up ops and slowing shit down, and I felt so poor. And I had to do the walk of shame. Everyone's locked in, ready to go. They're like, mate, you got to fit your knees in that way. And my wife was just wetting herself laughing, and she hates rides, even those ones. So I was like, sucked in, you go. But here I am hiding my face, going, oh, I'm that loser that's slowing ops down. I'm the guy that I complain about if I was in the queue to go next, why I just didn't do the test seat beforehand.
That's got to be the worst feeling. I always I felt really bad for, well, actually, it depended how nice they were about whether I felt bad when I had to turn someone away or not. If they're nice to me, I'm like, I'm really, really sorry. If they're not nice to me, haha. Go away.
They're not nice
Leave.
to you. Die mad, bitch.
Yep. Go away.
End of the line for you. Go to guest services. I don't want to see your face again. Thank you.
Out of my line.
I used to tell them where to go to make complaints and tell them that my name was Jake. I'm like, yeah, go away, go complain to somebody else. I've got a job to do.
There's no way. I would have said something.
Yeah.
I would just say my real name. I'd be like, hey, if this has been great for you today, my name's been Dane. If you haven't enjoyed yourself, my name's Jake. Thanks for coming.
I got a little bit. It was a bit of a cocky attitude there at one point, because I was a team leader for a while at Luna Park. So if I knew I was in the right, I knew that my name would immediately be like, oh, okay, so it's one of these people that's got a complaint.
Yeah.
So if it was a genuine complaint, I'd be like, look, we'll try and handle this. If it's just somebody being a Karen, I'd be like, yeah, go to guest services and complain about me. My name's Jake. Like, see what they say, see what they tell you.
It's a really an interesting one. Like, sort of, I work, as I said, I work in radio, and people are always quick to like be negative about a certain situation, but if you did a good job, I'll almost guarantee you that they wouldn't have gone to guest services and said, hey, Jake was bloody awesome today. But if you did a shit job, that would have been first person there. And same thing in radio. Like, I try to be really good at telling my announcers that they've done a great break or they're doing a really good job, because we're always too quick to share the negative feedback. And look, the same can be said for videos and what we do and the comments we get and that sort of shit too, right? Like, sometimes you're like, people will be quick to say, no, that's not right, or that was the wrong height, or that was the wrong coaster name. But if they're like, hey, I'm loving your content, sometimes that's harder for people to type than to be a negative Nancy.
Yeah.
Yep,
it's
definitely.
It's very easy to sort of shit on things. And so especially in my channel, I've tended to err on the side of positivity where possible. So a lot of people have said to me, why do you say you liked that stupid kids coaster? It's shit. And it's just like, it didn't, offend me. So I generally am pretty jazzed just to be on a roller coaster anyway. So unless it's a really bad experience, I'll find the good in it somehow.
What would be a bad experience coaster? Oh my! So, Kieran, what's a bad experience coaster then that you've had? Keeping in mind, I actually haven't been to Perth, so I haven't been to Adventure World to experience. I think it's I want to say Abyss. Is that their coaster over there?
Yeah.
I'm going to say my next episode is going to feature a bad experience coaster.
Okay.
And yeah, it was my trip to Thredbo.
Oh, okay. Oh, they got the new Alpine coaster, don't they?
They do. And I went in the height of winter, where every man and their dog was at Thredbo, and it was a good hour and a half wait to get on it, and they were mowing through people, like trying to churn through people to get everyone on the coaster and not leaving enough gaps between each person. And so as soon as you get a nervous Nelly on an alpine coaster who controls their own brakes, they slow down and slow everybody down behind them.
That
So before I even got on the coaster, I was like getting B-roll, and there was one person who was holding up 25 other cars behind them, and they had the attendants yelling at them from the bottom of the mountain.
Oh my god!
See, I put this question to. Obviously, they wanted to get through the queue line. I think I asked some people this question the other day. If you're at a park and it's quiet, do you mind? So I'm saying like a 5-minute, practically a walk on. Do you mind then if the operators having a bit of a yarn, taking their time, or are you just like, get me through the queue and get me on the ride as fast as possible? Keeping in mind, essentially rides are walk-ons. That, for some weird reason, it really annoys me. So I get what those ops were trying to do, but I've never been on an alpine coaster, and I know you control your speed. So I can sort of see them wanting to pump through the crowd, but there's got to be safety. And I would assume only a certain amount of cars will be allowed on the track at a time for that type of thing, Kieran?
I'm not sure what the protocol is, but it wasn't a great experience. Like, especially lining up that long just to have such a disappointing experience and just being held up for a good 2/3 of the ride.
How much was it?
Well, so when you buy tickets for it, you either buy one ride or you buy 3 rides, and then you're assigned like a 3-hour block in which time you can ride however many rides you've purchased. I can't remember off the top of them. I think it was like $30 each for each ride. Yeah.
$30 for one ride. Jesus.
Yeah. And so, as you can imagine, waiting for an hour and a half for a not ideal riding experience was more than frustrating. And you could tell, like, I didn't want to get angry at the attendants because I know that they were trying to make the best of a crappy situation, but it was really frustrating.
I wonder if they could turn some cars backwards and do like Leviathan and Rivals and have like a backwards version of it and charge people $50 to skip the queue and go and do it backwards.
But the thing is, like, actually doing sort of the first third before I sort of came up, behind another person and it automatically kicks the brakes in. The first third was great. Like, going around those corners and the laterals were really cool, really good fun. But it's just, yeah, when you're spending the other 2/3 of the ride at it crawling, it's not ideal.
Yeah, I haven't been on an alpine coaster yet, but I've been on plenty of those alpine slides, like the little toboggans, and same thing. It's especially because the majority of them, the only one I can think of that's in a park where you've got admission and you can do it as many times as you want is Magic Mountain. The big banana where you're paying per ride. If one of your rides gets ruined by the fact that you've got to slow down, it's a real kick in the guts.
I found Magic Mountain were pretty good because the attendants on the day that I went were like looking to see make sure that people had passed a certain point before they'd let the next person go. And yeah, I didn't have a problem. I didn't sort of come up, get slowed down behind anybody. I got to do it without sort of really engaging the brakes at all. It was great fun.
I've always had that problem on the Big Bananas one, which is surprising considering how short it is. But a few times I've been stuck behind people on it.
Well, I'm doing a road trip down the East Coast because my wife's from regional New South Wales, and we're actually going to pass Coffs. And I was just thinking, I've never been on one. So do I stop into the Big Banana and give that one a crack? But it's going to be peak school holidays, and I'm nervous, getting anxiety just thinking about it right now. But
do you know when you'll be going?
Well, I'll be going past Coffs Harbour sometime between the 16th and 20th of December.
Oh, okay. So they won't have built the coaster by then.
Yeah.
What coaster are
No,
they
that's-
building?
They're building an
They're
Alpine
building an
coaster
Alpine.
too.
Oh,
They've got approval for it, but nothing's started yet. I think it'll probably open next year. Yeah, the Big Banana's worth. I'd recommend stopping at the restaurant at the Big Banana. I really liked it, but other than that, it's a little overpriced for what it is, and the Alpine slide's nothing special. It's quite short.
okay.
There
skip
is
that.
there is an Alpine like toboggan in Nelson Bay if you happen to be driving through there on your way down the coast. And that's just a dedicated toboggan park. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's like Nelson Bay Toboggan Park or something like that.
Original.
But that's an
I like that.
alternative
See,
option if you didn't want to do the Big Banana.
They thought about that name. They're like, what's going to be catchy? What's going to get people's attention? I know what. We'll just call it what it is. We're in Nelson Bay. It's an Alpine coaster park. I'm here for it.
It's literally called Toboggan Hill Park.
I love that.
We've got a park. We've got toboggans. There's a hill.
What,
guys?
What are we going to call
I've got
it?
the perfect name. The perfect.
What is it?
Toboggan Hill Park. Oh my god!
Oh my god! Why didn't I think of that?
Guys, I'm going to take out a ride. I'm going to put in some chairs and some umbrellas where people can just chill out. What should we call that place?
Chill out.
Kickback Cove.
Kickback Cove.
Yep. I think that is Kickback Cove, isn't it? That's what it's called.
Yeah. That was a little bit of
Oh my
shade.
I love Dreamworld. I used to work there I've been a bit of a theme park whore. I've been to a lot of them. I've worked at a lot of them, and I've still got friends that work at Dreamworld. So I got a lot of respect for what the park's trying to achieve at the moment.
Yeah, you can tell
Didn't
that
they
there's
have
got
one of
a
those
bigger
strong
master plan. That Kickback Cove is not high on the laundry list of things to do, but
Didn't they
and
make
never
that
wanted
joke
to.
about themselves?
yeah,
They
did.
made that
did.
joke about
The
themselves
Advocate
in
Claw.
Oh, yeah, so funny.
I actually caught up with. I saw Greg and spent some time with him, the CEO, at when Casey Barnes was performing, and I'd met him once previously and saw him again then, and we were talking about that social video because that wasn't the only bit of shade they threw. They also threw a bit of shade at the SeaWorld one about the monorail closing and how they were talking about how about the service and they couldn't get parts for it, et cetera, et cetera. And if you watch the Claw video, there's some of those sort of throw bits of shade at that. And Greg was saying, look, we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. And I was like, that's fair. And I think it's fun. I like that. I think that's some companies in the US do it really well, like on X or Twitter or whatever it is, like Wendy's and McDonald's and Burger King all go at it and do it really, really well. The QPS, Queensland Police Media, do it really, really well. So I think there's a little bit of room for that sort of fun in our social media game when it comes to our theme parks, for sure.
A bit of self-deprecation doesn't go it goes a long way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're a theme park. You can't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, and it humanizes them, right? Like what it does is it gives them those, they're nerds just like us. Like when Dreamworld did the bit about, the boss is away, so we got to do socials for 2 weeks, and they like hand drew stuff in paint and art, and people were like, I don't know what you guys thought of it, but I thought, I'm actually here for this. I'm curious to see where it goes because it was different, right? It was something we hadn't seen before. They were trying something new.
It's not the corporate sanitized, palatable thing that caters to everybody. It's actually trying for a point of difference.
I'm here for that. It's a bit of fun, a bit of lightheartedness. You go to a theme park to escape your daily grind. I tell my guys that all the time on radio. I was like, guys, we play music for a living. Don't take yourselves too fucking seriously. for God's sakes, we play Taylor Swift 10 times a day. Just relax and bang out to it, have a good time. And I think I love that from out. Like, if they do more of that, I'll be a very happy theme park enthusiast, I think.
I do enjoy how much time Greg appears to have for enthusiasts, and just he'll have a chat if, he sees them in park.
He seems like a very approachable and lovely guy. I haven't met him personally, but from what I've heard.
He is. I'm actually trying to set up a proper sit down, catch up interview thing with him. I'm in the process of that at the moment. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I would love to just sit down and just have a proper chat. Because I think what they're doing some stuff there that they haven't really sort of released, like the changing the font on the Dreamworld globe, right? Like, that's a small thing that only the nerds will notice about the nostalgia. But what's the push behind this, as well as what I sort of want to know? Rivertown coming back. Obviously, Rivertown was a land there with Mississippi Motors, the Captain Sturt paddle wheeler, which I think were they the only two attractions?
What do you call it? The koala jamboree thing.
Yeah, that was there.
Oh yeah, Country Bear Jamboree. Or was that part of Gumtree Gully?
I think that was actually Gumtree Gully.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
But they sort of melded into each other. Like, I loved, because they didn't really advertise the old logo, and I don't know if you've seen, they released a new park map maybe yesterday or today.
Oh, really?
And it sort of got the old school. Yeah, they've redone the park map. No Rivertown on it yet. It's a big grey area, but it's sort of like faded sort of map. And I'm just curious on the nostalgia hit and why these things are important. Like Kenny and Belinda's Dreamland, making them more iconic in the park as well. They're obviously going back to that for a very strong reason. I'd love to sort of find out.
I love it.
Why. The map, just have a Google, did you?
Yeah. This is exactly what we were talking about in an earlier episode, about sort of hand-drawn park maps, and
right,
how it just giving things a little bit more character and soul to a park.
Because I'm just waiting for that main logo out the front to be changed as well.
Yeah.
Like, when are they going to do that big globe out the front? But
wow. I've just got the map up as well. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. And look, I'm looking forward to seeing Rivertown, and some of the comments on some of the posts I've seen are like, "Where's Rivertown? Where's Rivertown?" Those two massive grey bits that are just sitting there. Of course, they're not going to release sort of. Well, I don't know. Who knows when it's going to be open? But
yeah, that's really
great.
cool though. I agree with Kieran there. I love that they've given it that nice, unique art style. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's a dying art, the park map. So I'm glad they've done this. This is really nice.
Yeah, and you don't get them anymore. Like, I still have some for my trips to Disney World and Disneyland. I still love that they have physical park maps in those places. And I've actually got a book in my library about the poster art of Disney and how they do things and why they do them a certain way. And so there's some park maps in there. And I love that sort of stuff. So I love something tangible like that. And Movie World don't do it anymore. SeaWorld don't do it anymore. Wet n Wild definitely don't do it anymore. I do remember putting them in my pocket, though, some visits, and just getting absolutely wet, obviously, and just try to rip it out. And you're like, I can't see anything. I don't know where I'm going anymore. Dreamworld do it for their special events, for Snowy Nights and Happy Halloween. But that's it. And I do miss, they're a great collector's item, and you really do get an opportunity. I don't know. As a kid, I used to love getting them and studying them, and I don't know. It's a part of the park experience that I don't think we get anymore.
You're talking my language. I'd do the exact same thing when I was a kid.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The nostalgia that we have for little bits of paper.
Don't make it sound so stupid, but it is. It's so dumb.
Hey, everything about being a coaster enthusiast is dumb when you analyze it too much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny. I was listening to your episode with Riley, and I was thinking because you guys were you guys both count credits. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Do you hear? So my mate Ryan and I we did Parkamon last week, and
I
we're
love
talking
that
about.
video. That's great.
Oh, thank you very much. And we're talking about if we go forwards on rivals, then do we go backwards? Is that counted as a separate attraction? Now, as two guys that count credits, is backwards another credit, or is backwards not included for both? I suppose that
No.
Leviathan and then the
Yeah.
spinning seat. Well, then is the spinning seat okay? Both answer the question first. Is going backwards a different credit on
It's a
Leviathan
no
and
from me.
Yeah, it's a no from me, but not because I disagree that it's a different experience. I just think if I start doing that, it opens a whole can of worms about like, uh, if do I have to count a different if I get it if I go on a spinning coaster, do I have to count if it spins in a different direction? If I go on like a ride to
Oh,
happiness,
good.
do I have to count if I'm in the forward facing seat at the start or the backward facing seat at the start? Like it it gets too complicated for me, and
Yeah.
credit counting is stupid, and I'm aware that it's stupid, so I try not to analyze my own rules too much.
So, what rules do you have then? What are your rules? Obviously, no
Personally,
so
my
backward.
rule. You go, Jake.
Kieran, tell us your rules. No, Kieran, tell us your rules.
um, mine are fairly straightforward. It's if it's pretty much like it's okay. So there's obvious sort of coasters like one credit is what is one ride. I don't count sort of backwards or spinning seats as rides if it's on the same coaster. I do count things as separate credits if the coaster has been relocated and rethemed. So it's like in a different park and has a new theming. I'll count that as a separate credit because that's a new experience. Whereas I know other people is like, no, it's the same ride. And it's like, well, do you count clones? And Jake and I have had this conversation at length. So if it's a new location, new park, new experience, new theming, different credit. And I do count powered coasters as credits, but I don't count zip coasters as credits. I suppose that's just my own sort of little thing.
Take on it.
Yeah.
For me, if it's a train that runs on a dry, elevated track that is at least partly powered by gravity, it's a credit. Separate tracks means separate credits. So if it's a dueling or racing coaster, it's 2.
What if it's a mirrored layout?
I still count it as 2, although I do,
Okay.
and I haven't got any mirrored layouts yet personally. I will still count it as 2 when I get my first one. But yeah, there's like I said, I try not to analyze the rules too much because if for every rule there will be an exception. But similar to what Kieran said, relocations are separate credits. If powered coasters are credits, alpine coasters are credits, zip coasters are not credits. And yeah, basically, if I can't decide for myself and if it's too complicated, then I go on RCDB, and if it's on RCDB, I'll count it.
Yes. That's the best. Let someone else do the dirty work for you. No, that's cool because I don't count because I've been. I don't know why I don't. I just don't. I'm curious. Would you consider counting dark rides or flat rides, or is that just blowing all this sort of credit counting stuff out of the water?
The only way I'd count a dark ride would be if it was something like Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster or Fire in the Hole. But if it was just literally like a ghost train, then no.
I did try to sit down and go through and count like log flumes and dark rides and drop towers and stuff. Not so much as I want to keep count of that, but because I was just curious at one point, like how many log flumes have I been on? How many dark rides have I been on? Um, the flat rides one was really, really tricky because with coasters, the good thing is I know what parks I've been to since I was, a little kid. So I can basically go through and be
Yeah.
like, go onto RCDB and be like, that coaster was there when I went, and yes, I do remember that I went on it, or no, I would have been too small. So I do have I'm like 99.9% sure that my credit count is exactly right down to the dates. But going back in time, I don't know what, especially when it gets to like kids flat rides and stuff. I don't know what I went on or what I didn't.
Yeah.
So it's just too complicated. It's log flumes and stuff, like parks tend to only have one, and you can kind of go, yes, I've been on that. No, I haven't. Flat rides, there's so many of them and they come and go. It was a lot more complicated, so I gave up.
So you count. Oh, sorry, Kieran, you go.
No. Oh, I was just about to say, and then you start having to like think about, oh, well, what the hell did I ride at the Easter show, and who made that ride?
Yes.
Like when I was like 6, like it starts to get into too much of a rabbit hole, because I know that there's probably a couple of coasters that I did ride at the Easter show when I was a little kid, but I don't count them because I would have no idea which ones they were.
Yeah. So wait, Jake, do you write down time and date or just date?
You have no idea how in depth my credit spreadsheet is. I've
I was
improved
going to
it.
say, is it a spreadsheet? Please tell me it's an Excel spreadsheet.
It is an Excel spreadsheet, yeah, and it's incredibly detailed. It has automated algorithms and stuff as well that counts stats. So it's incredible. It's way over the top. I know it's way over the top. I have everything down in terms of like when I rode things. I have everything down to month and year. So I know that I don't remember specific dates, obviously, but I know that my first credit was in January 2004. And I just count from there.
Whoa, that's unbelievable. I do know my first credit, and that's probably like I know, probably if you name a park, I'll probably say I've ridden it or not. But like my very first credit was I was in grade 6 or 7 at Lotus State School, and we went to SeaWorld, and I went on I believe at the time it was called the Wave Seeker. I don't know what the actual term for that roller coaster is, but it's the one that goes up, down, you spin around a little bit, then you go to the other side and you do spin around a little bit, and then you stop. I did that. Was my very first credit.
The Thrill Seeker,
That's
and I think it was a SDI Galaxy.
Thrill Seeker.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
yep.
it's traveling now. And it disappeared for a while. It disappeared for a while, and and I actually met this is I don't know if I've shared this story on the channel before. I met the guy that bought it. So it after SeaWorld closed it, it was bought by a traveling showman who traveled it to like the Easter show and everything. It was called the Taipan, and it was there for years and years, and then kind of outlived its service life and was just in a scrapyard in pieces. And last year, someone bought it and spent a whole bunch of money refurbishing it and brought it to a fun fair in Sydney as its like big return, its big comeback. And I caught wind of it on Facebook somehow and went there, and he was a lovely guy. I talked to him for ages. I got some POVs and stuff, and then he said, "Hey, don't worry about buying coupons. You just come back on the ride whenever you want." So I spent the rest of the evening just going on the Taipan over and over again and talking to him about coasters.
That is so awesome. That is so cool. I love to see it. I do remember the Taipan showing up at the Ekka. I don't know if I wrote it, but I didn't know it was the same one from SeaWorld. So that is absolutely crazy. I love that. That is, yes, that was my first ever coaster. And my second coaster then naturally was the Corkscrew. What a stepping stone.
Been on that one. Yeah, bit of a jump.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, like the corkscrew at SeaWorld was so, when it was operating, I didn't realize the loop was over the back when I first went on it because it had that first, like that little, it felt so tiny and probably is tiny
Yeah.
compared to what we've got now. But it had that loop over the back that I didn't know. So that scared the shit out of me when I went on. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that because you can see the corkscrews, right? You can't see the loop because it was actually behind the station.
Yeah.
So the only way you'd see it if you went on the monorail. So it came down, did a loop, and then the corkscrew. And it was like, I reckon it's the shortest. It's shorter than the Big Red Boat Coaster. It was that short. It was all over, I swear, in like 32 seconds.
That was something that I remember. That's a lasting memory for me of the corkscrew as well. It's just that we lined up for so long and then it was over in like next to no time. It was just like, oh, okay, is that it?
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe how short it was. And then I was lucky enough to go to some, back in the day, they used to do like radio breakfast OBs, the outside broadcasts. And I wasn't working in the industry at the time, but won tickets to go down. And they had the corkscrew open. And I rode it with my uncle and my sister, I reckon about 50 times in a row without having to get off. We just bulk rode the corkscrew. So you never went on it, Jake? You never did the SeaWorld corkscrew?
No, I've done the exact clone of it at Rainbow's End in New Zealand, but I have the only time I went to SeaWorld while the corkscrew was still open, I was quite young. I would have been too small.
Yeah. Also, not even the Sea Viper. I don't even know how long that lasted for.
Yeah.
I think my first time going back to the Gold Coast as a teenager and as a coaster enthusiast was a couple years after it closed. So, yeah, unfortunately, I missed it.
Well, then you would have missed every coaster then at SeaWorld. There would have been no coaster there.
Yeah, I think. Oh, actually, no. There was Storm and Jet Rescue were my first coasters at SeaWorld, and that was
right.
Storm had just opened. It was quite new the first time I went on it.
Turn right the ride, I like to call it. That's all you do. Turn right again. Oh, and drop.
It's
I watched your
I can't turn left.
I'll do that for my photo next time, just a Zoolander pose and post that. Thanks for the idea, Kieran. Hashtag, that's my intellectual property now. Thank you. Stolen. You're not on Instagram. Sucked in. So, yeah, like I watched your video, Jake, on Bermuda Triangle, which was one of my all-time favorite dark rides, and going there
good
as a family. And like, I remember we went on it a couple of times to get the ultimate family photo down the drop, and we got it. I know it's still at home. It's at my house that I live in, or my parents live in at Loda in Brisbane. And I do remember this distinctly. God, I can barely remember my daughter's birthday, but I remember these theme park memories. Is the lady at the photo shop said, that is the perfect display photo. And we were on display as the display photo at Bermuda Triangle for I'm not sure how long, but that was our photo that was there. And Jake, I was watching your video on it. And again, when we did Parkamon, we went on Storm Coaster because it was a walk on at the end of the day. And I just couldn't, when we got to the splashdown, all I could think about was your video. And I was talking to Ryan saying, what a waste of space. Oh, what a waste of space. And like, you've got this amazing splashdown and it's inside where no one can see it. And all I could think about was your video and looking around going, well, I wonder what scene we would have been going through here in Bermuda Triangle. Such a massive shame.
Yeah, it's especially the inside of the show building, the fact that it's just the station, this little queue, flash down and like a 180-degree turnaround. Like that's all that's in there. And you think about all of the detail that used to be in there before. It's so baffling.
It just hurts your head. It's mind blowing. I don't know if I reckon they screwed up with Storm Coaster because you also look at like the theming around, I suppose the drop and that area isn't woeful, but you look at the other part under the turn right sections. There's nothing there. It's gravel and a bloody and a crane. It's just felt like a massive empty space where you put something like Bermuda back in there or just do that up somehow. And they've got another space for another amazing attraction out the front of it, essentially. I don't know. It's hard.
I just remember
hard
the
being a
heat
fan
from the
sometimes.
flames of the volcano as you were about to go down the
Yes.
splash. And then
Ugh.
being so heartbroken years later when I found out that they'd changed it to like neon glow, like neon lights.
Yeah, that was that was one of my Bermuda Triangle was probably one of the rides that's responsible for me being a theme park enthusiast, because I was so just gripped by every little detail of it, and I wanted to know everything about it and how it worked and stuff. So I do remember my fascination with the flames, and then my devastation when I don't think I went back and ever rode it when it had the neon lights, but I remember seeing a video or a POV on YouTube and being like, what? The flames are gone? Why? Yeah, that was awful.
I remember being a kid and being so wowed by the Pepper's Ghost effect they did with the UFO.
Yeah. Hey, and let's not forget, before it was Bermuda Triangle, it was also Lasseter's Lost Mine ride, which was way before its time as well, right? Like, SeaWorld dominated the dark ride game before Movie World ever existed.
Oh yeah,
and those two rides form my childhood.
I think something else that I miss out of all of the dark rides that have been and gone was the Gremlins ride.
Yep, Gremlins, and then I look at junior driving school and go, "What have you done here, Movie World? You had one of the greatest." And now they're sort of leaving the nostalgia. Oh, sorry, you go, Jake.
That's even worse than Storm Coaster. Like I can enjoy Storm Coaster. Junior driving school is the most. It's offensive that they've put it in that building.
Well, I got some inside knowledge that from, again, Park on with Ryan, because he worked at a bunch of parks. They only used half that building. Like, behind one of the doors is still that amazing mural, which was in the waiting room, and just being used as storage, I'd imagine, or something. Like, they're using the showcase for storage, which is another massive waste of space. Maybe we should do a whole podcast on wasted spaces at theme parks.
Considering that Movie World aren't exactly, don't exactly have heaps of room in the park, it's so wild that that's what they're doing.
It's such a middle finger to that ride as well. Such a family favorite, and they turn it into a cheap
low
little
rent.
Yeah, it's just rubbish, absolute rubbish.
Something
Welcome everyone to the Wasted
park.
Spaces podcast.
Yes, I'll be part of that Wasted Spaces podcast, mate. There's so much you could talk about. Let's talk about how the fact that in Oz, which I'm looking forward to, not as much as Rivertown, and we're talking about dark rides, that would have been the perfect place for a dark ride. That would have been the perfect place for a Wizard of Oz themed dark ride to put in there. Put everyone in a little hot air balloon, travel around Oz, like Peter Pan's flight style sort of situation from Disney. Omni Mover, just get people on and off that thing. But how could you not think, you put in 3 roller coasters instead of thinking about what the movie is and what it's about and what you could do. I feel like there is a missed opportunity there for a dark ride in that part of the park. And I don't know if they've got room for expansion either.
No, they probably don't. We were talking about this on another episode as well. They've managed to get themselves 3 family Vekoma coasters. You can fit, Vekoma do the family boomerang and STC package. You can fit that into the area that just one of those coasters takes up, and you could have built a dark ride, or you could have built something else, and they need like a good narrative driven family ride, like a dark ride.
Yes.
You're supposed to be a movie theme park. Like, how do you not have a dark ride that has like a proper story? Like Justice League, I guess, but not really.
Justice League, I'm sorry, is not good. I'm going to put it out there.
It's really not. It's really not.
Well, it was the prototype, wasn't it, from Sally Corp, yeah? Like, because we got the shit
Yeah.
version, and then the Six Flags got the really good versions of that ride with the cool Joker animatronic at the start that fires a gun and stuff. Right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was the prototype.
I don't even think we have animatronics per se. It just looks like mannequins they got from, Ruben F. Scarf, Suzanne.
Closest. I mean, the only one that I can think of that actually even remotely moves like an animatronic is Cyborg at the station, and it's still a very cheap animatronic as well.
Hey, don't do my Supergirl dirty like that. Holding that wall up. Don't do that to her. Don't you do that, Jake? That head turns back and forth. Come on now, be better. Be better, Jake.
I apologize for this Supergirl erasure that I've just committed on this podcast.
That's the only other. That's how bad the ride is. That's the only other animatronic I can think of. Or the Stop Go Starro Man.
Oh my
But
god!
I suppose it was trading one jank animatronic for several. Like, the Batman animatronic for Batman Adventure Ride was not exactly smooth, but I still loved
for
it.
its time.
For its time, it was so good. It was a good simulation ride.
We were just, Jake, you were talking about story before, like a story. That was a story. You started in the library, you ran through to the cave, then you had the helpers, and then you were in the Bat Cave, and then you were in your shuttles. Like, before it turned to Batman the Ride 2, which I thought was very subpar and the sort of cartoony. I prefer the real life sort of action stuff. Man, that ride, that's the first one that scared the shit out of me when Batman goes to the helpers in the cave, like, all right, help them out. They're like, go, sir, yes, sir. And then I was like, whoa, where did they come from? Like, it was such a cool. And then and this is when Movie World, I think, was peak. It's good now, but it was peak back here in the 90s because then they incorporated Penguin into the parade, and they actually had kids captured in a cage in the parade with the Red Triangle gang. I was that shit scared of being caught by the Penguin, and they had that in the parade. And you think, man, this is a movie theme park, and I do love Movie World, and I try to be positive too, like you, Kieran. But sometimes you just got to look at it and go, where did you go wrong? You lost Gremlins the Ride. Yeah, what and watching old 90s videos, and I bookmarked them on YouTube, and I watched them. And when Tassie Devil was there, when Space Jam just got released, now the Space Jam show with all the Monstars and Young Gravity, the Young Einstein Homestead. There's some really great YouTube videos.
The Young Einstein Homestead. That was so cool.
There are some really great YouTube videos I'll send to you guys, and I don't know how you share them with the listeners or whatever else, Jake. I'll leave that tech stuff to you because I could barely get on Discord tonight. But I think it's just so cool to see the parks back then because you're like, oh yeah, I remember that, or that was so cool. And not that they're not doing cool things now because they are
theming.
Yeah.
I remember. Sorry, you go, Jake.
No. I was just agreeing. You continue.
I remember on that Batman ride how, before they they did it as if you were doing a tour of Wayne Manor in that little foyer area, and you're in the library, and you had like a guy dressed as a butler kind of thing, and sort of telling you all about the place, and then you got ushered in through a secret passageway when he pulls a book out of the door. It was just a cute little touch. It's just you don't see it anymore.
But it was storytelling, and that's what they did good back then. Was the storytelling. The Gremlins ride, like that had no bit those because you walked into that going, "What are these bloopers from old 60s movies that are black and white?" And then all of a sudden, and then Beetlejuice somehow popped up. Like anyway, but that was a cool dark ride, and the ending of that where the actor would scare you with the police car crash, like that little jump scare at the end, like that storytelling, even the storytelling, across the 3 sound stages of the movie tour. I was lucky enough to get pulled out I did the Memphis Belle bit, and I'll never forget being pulled out for that. Like that was back before everyone had a mobile phone camera and stuff. So there's no photo or video of me doing it. But I got pulled out for that, and I'll never forget those moments. And I remember going as a kid, my old man, Senior Girk, he would hate any of this sort of stuff. I always sort of grew up a bit of a ego, a bit of a personality, a bit of look at me. That's how I ended up in radio and got a face for radio, not TV. That's why I didn't do TV. And like I remember my old man would always bend down to do something, fiddle with his backpack so he wouldn't get picked on by someone and get pulled out to do something, because he's just that sort of a human. Where I was the other, I was like, yeah, pick me, come on, look at my face, I'm ready, I'm excited, I'm engaging with you, pull me out to do something. And I got pulled out once, but yeah, I'll never, like, there's nothing like that. I'd love to see a little movie magic show at Movie World again, in the stunt, even in the stunt area. Like, do what Universal did and have that fire effect show or something. It would go a long way. And you need something to soak the crowds during summer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there was like
yes.
the Superman like blue screen section, which, you know, in retrospect is probably sort of old hat right now for kids to watch. But at the time it was like, oh, look, I'm Superman in the suit, and sort of there was like the falling ladder or something like that from memory.
Yep.
Yeah. It was just so cool. And it was our own little version of like the Universal backlot tour. You went through the Batman Forever sets and had the guy dressed as the Riddler.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Yeah. And he a very poor Riddler, because he always had sneakers on like New Balance when I saw him. Like, it wasn't a full. It was like he got the costume from somewhere really bad and just had runners on. I was like, the real Riddler. Yeah, son.
Oh my god, New Balance.
He's got like the white sneakers that every dad uses to mow the lawn.
That's exactly what they were. I swear to God, that's what they were. And like, you're talking about like the green screen effect, Kieran, and how it'd be out of date now. Now to be someone just going in and getting AI, like a quick computer generated bit of their face, and that's it.
Yeah.
Move on. That's the movie magic. We took a 3D scan. Now we can get you to do anything we want. Thank you.
Just harvested your data. Bye.
Yeah. We got your face. We don't need actors ever again.
Hope you don't have pay ID and
congratulations, you're going to be a Hollywood star and you're going to see none of the money because we don't actually need you to do any of it.
Sucked in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're missing that magic about theme parks in Australia. I mean, coming over here to Europe and seeing some of the large scale parks, especially like Europa Park and Park Asterix, and just being like, where is this? Like, I'm having such a magical time here, and I can't think currently of an attraction in Australia that does the same thing.
Well, I've never been to the UK. I've never done any UK theme parks. And when I was over there a couple of years ago, well, a lot of years ago now, I did like a top deck and a like a sail Croatia thing. Back then I wasn't really into theme parks. Like, I would have gone to one, but I was not into them like I am now. And I sort of regret not looking into perhaps going to one when I was over there. Outside of Ops, Jake, what do the UK or the theme parks you visited to on your Odyssey, what do they do better over there that you think we could do here?
The storytelling is definitely one of the biggest things I've noticed. There's an attraction at Alton Towers called Nemesis Subterra, and it's not great. It's far from perfect. I've got a lot of problems with it. But what's great about it is that they build this whole story around the ride. So there's a story as you're getting assembled into the queue and putting your loose items in. Like, the staff are acting and talking to you and telling you, and they're in character. There's a little instructional pre-show which is done in character. The elevator down to the ride platform has like effects and a story in it. The actual ride attendants are all in character. Like, walking in and out of the ride is just as entertaining as the ride itself. And I think that that's something that we used to do with, like, Bermuda Triangle had that whole pre-show and the onboard audio and everything. Looney Tunes River Ride is another one that comes to mind that did a whole like introductory segment and everything before the ride. We don't do that anymore. It's either just put a roller coaster on a patch of concrete. As good as those roller coasters are, they they're just on a patch of concrete, or even the ones that are themed are very. It's mostly just stylistic stuff. There's no narrative to it.
I will say that I'm glad that Leviathan has sort of, I don't know, it's not quite at the same level as far as having the staff commit to the bit, but the fact that the theming and rock work and the screens and everything, and that it tries to tell the story is really good.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to mention Leviathan. I feel like the way that you got this, if you look closely at the queue, you've got to pay attention to the ad for this to make any sense. But you've got the little human trying to tame the Leviathan, like put his hand on the head across the picture in the queue, and then you've got the lettering and the voiceover. How dare you enter? And then the screen. First time I walked through there, I was mind blown, and I wrote it just the other week. I still can't believe the smoke's working as you go out of the station. Like it's still blowing smoke out as Leviathan leaves. And I'm like, wow, I thought this would have been dead in the first 2 weeks, but that still works. I have the utmost hope that Oz, at least both of them, Flight of the Wicked Witch and Kansas Twister, have screens in the queue that either have flying muckies or put you in that setting, or in the I hope in Kansas Twister at some point in the queue there's like a vibrating floor like Cyclone used to have, or there's like wind machines blowing like you're in a tornado. Please God, let that happen, because I think that would be awesome and would just put you in that moment of, oh, they're actually just two family coasters. Like, use a bit of storytelling here, and hopefully they're doing that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you reckon they're going to be able to do that?
I think they'll definitely do the screens. I'm not sure if they'll do the blowing fans, but it would be really cool if they did. Just looking at
I'm
the
hopeful.
concept art.
I'm hopeful, but I'm also trying not to get my hopes up too high. I think though that it's an encouraging sign that it looks like with Leviathan and now with Wizard of Oz and of course at Dreamworld Jungle Rush as well, it looks like they're starting to come around to the fact that what makes attractions good and engaging is that theming and that storyline. So even though, especially in the case of Movie World, they're literally just two off-the-shelf family coaster models. It looks like they're at least going to try and put some effort in. So I'm excited to see how it turns out.
We were talking about this on another episode that, like, you know, Australian audiences are more savvy now with the internet. They're aware of what's going on in other parks, and they're realizing how, you know, low rent the Aussie parks have gotten when it comes to theming.
I feel like, I agree. Rivertown, I think, is going to be a game changer. From the area to the theming they've put in to switching out the motor coaster shop, which will almost guarantee motor coaster will get a retheme in the not too distant future, to dirt bikes through the jungle or something else completely different. We still don't really have the full backstory of what Jungle Rush is about. I know Pico Play are actually working on both projects and they do great stuff. But this could be the return of the golden age of storytelling from the UK parks, I suppose, Jake, to our Australian parks once again.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a return to a much happier time when they were more than just rides. So I'm very, unfortunately I won't be there for opening season, but I will be watching with great interest when those rides open, especially Rivertown.
Yeah, well, I'll be hopefully here. Everyone says Boxing Day. I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think they're opening until next year. I don't think they're going to be open until January. And I've spoken to some people, some enthusiasts, and they're like, yeah, but hooray for Hollywood said there's going to be shows in there. I was like, that doesn't mean shit, mate. That doesn't mean shit. They can change that in an instant. I really don't see either of the lands opening before January, if I'm honest. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. And I'll I've got stuff on, but I'll be back around Boxing Day, the day after Boxing Day, to be able to hopefully go and visit one or both parks just to experience. If I'm honest with you, I'd probably go straight to Jungle Rush and try to experience that on day after Boxing Day, and then make my way to Movie World and try my luck at Wizard of Oz. But I reckon I don't think till, I'm going to be honest, not till January. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think it will be.
Well,
Yeah, it's getting down to the wire, definitely.
Yeah, it's not that long to go. It's only, we're a month away from Christmas, so less than a month away from Christmas.
Big Cash did say, the COO, I think, of Movie World, early December, which is next week or the week after. And I just don't see, I know they say they're testing, but I'm not seeing the cycles that need to happen for proper testing for those rides. Like, don't have to do something crazy like 100 to 200 cycles or something before, and then they've got to do scenarios on those as well. And then staff have to be trained up. And look, one thing I'd love to see here is like what Disney do and Universal do so well, are pass holder previews. Like, why we haven't done a pass holder preview. I got excited when they said on the Dreamworld Flyer email, they're like, yeah, we'll have pass holder previews for Dreamworld Flyer. I was like, awesome. But then that never eventuated and just opened. Why don't we do them? Why don't we reward these people that are spending all this money? Well, I suppose it's not a lot of money, but spend this money. Like, we should be doing pass holder previews in our parks. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good way to test the response to an attraction as well. And get feedback before you've officially opened it, and get an idea of how your procedures are working as well. Because if there's a major issue or something that's going to cause bottlenecks or slow down operations, it's good to have like a preview or a trial opening so you can sort that issue out before you get those massive crowds on opening day.
Were you part of the opening team at Emerald Park, Jake, for that new stuff over there in Ireland?
I certainly was, yes. And first day was working on the two big coasters, yeah.
So what how many cycles do you know then? How many cycles does it have to do before it can be even handed over to the park? And then their training starts?
I'm not sure what it would be in Australia, because Ireland, Emerald Park is the only theme park in Ireland. So there's basically no like
do whatever
government
you want.
oversight or regulation. Yeah, like there's not enough of an industry for there to be government oversight on it. So it's all of their policies and procedures are like self-imposed. I know that they did something along the lines of it was a number of hours. I can't remember. It needed to do a certain number of hours of cycling, both loaded and unloaded with dummies. But I can't remember those numbers off the top of my head.
And you've got to remember as well, Dreamworld Jungle Rush has got this world first switchback mechanism, which no one really knows how it's going to work, what it's going to look like, what other perhaps theming elements are in play up there with Pico Play that need to be timed, animatronic wise or otherwise. If there's something to happen to trigger something else, we've all seen the problems with Tiana's Bayou Adventure over at Disney with like all the timing sequences. Like, if that's off, what's that going to happen? So, Kieran, are you going to be able to come and ride these rides when they open, perhaps on Boxing Day or next year?
I really would like to. I haven't bought tickets because I don't know when it's going to happen at this point.
Yeah,
because they haven't announced any kind of opening date. So, I've got a trip booked for Adventure Park Geelong and Return to Adventure World in mid-December. So I guess it's just a matter of, waiting and seeing.
Well, where are you based? Where are you, Kieran?
I'm a Sydney sider.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So Luna Park's your home park.
Yeah.
I do like Luna Park, I must admit. I do enjoy the Big Dipper, the reiteration of it. It's fun. But especially like with I don't want another Sky Voyager situation where it's ready and then it doesn't open for months and months and months and months and months. Where Jungle Rush, you want everything to, or what you don't want is a Leviathan situation where it opened for 2 weeks and then it closed for a month and a half. 2 months almost and then reopened again. That's, I think,
Yeah.
what they're trying to avoid with any
Yeah.
of this. Because that publicity, well, we all know what happens with theme parks and publicity. Whenever anything happens, could you just imagine, and especially the rhetoric around Dreamworld, if something happens, is just going to be, oh, I hate the news so much.
The news are the first to jump on anything that seems like it's going wrong to do with theme parks. They love to sensationalize it.
But what's crazy, and this is something else I'm trying to understand, what's crazy is the theme parks go to the news first too with news. Like, they don't go to creators. They send it to the news, like 7, 9, and 10 or whatever. And like, no one watches the news anymore. But they're the first ones, like, they give the news all these exclusives and whatever else, or Sunrise or whatever. So then they're the first people to be like, bag you out if something goes wrong. It's really fascinating.
And also the people who are watching things like Sunrise and stuff are like boomers who aren't necessarily going to be riding roller coasters anytime soon.
No, but they've got the money to send their grandkids to go ride these roller coasters.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah, so it's
I have
that's
to,
what they are targeting.
I have to hijack the conversation for a second because we've got a very important issue that we need to discuss. It's it's
Pressing,
actually
really.
it's very pressing matter. And it's very important that we get to the bottom of this. So, Dane, I'm going to ask you, when can we expect Dane's theme park life to document and ride the Keith monorail?
Okay, I've done my research, a little bit of research. The Keith monorail, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know what it is. I don't know where it is. I know you're both mouths agape right now, eyes wide open, going, why do we even bother getting this guy on the podcast? What's the Keith monorail? Where is it? And why does it exist? And does it still exist? And can you ride it?
Yes.
Our friend Jake made a whole documentary about it.
Well,
Yes,
I'll have to go back and watch that, Jake.
Yeah, it's the greatest roller coaster in Australian history.
Right.
And it's overlooked by all of the coaster community because I like to believe it's a conspiracy.
Right now.
But
it's,
you know,
it's big coaster.
Yeah,
big
coaster don't want you to know about it.
Is it Keith? Is that so? Someone's name's monorail?
Yeah, like the name.
Yeah. It's
is there a guy called Keith who built it?
Keith is the name of the town, but I don't know why
Right.
it's called Keith. It's a strange name for a town.
Don Mosley Park in the South Australian town of Keith has been perfect pit stop for travellers. This is an ABC article I'm just reading off, including its famous monorail. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
so is it essentially what's down the Gold Coast where two kids sit on a bike and you go along a rail and you pedal as fast as you can at one of the, like, just the park on the Broadwater there?
It's not pedal powered.
It's gravity powered. It's a roller coaster.
Well, you know what? If Maloney's Coasters and Ejector Bear Time do a meetup at Keith's monorail to ride it, sign me up. Fucking I'll buy the first ticket. Let's go. Let's do it. And we'll all vlog it together and we'll all post about how awesome it is. And if you organise a meetup, I will be there.
That sounds like a challenge. We're going to have to make it happen.
Pending if my wife allows me to go.
That's a good answer, actually.
Seriously though, if you set up a meetup at Keith's monorail to go and ride what you claim, I'm guessing, is Australia's best roller coaster, I am down for that, and I think that'll be a fun trip. And we could drink some wine while we're there in Adelaide. And there's no parks in Adelaide, is there?
No, there's the beach house, but that barely counts.
And there's Don Mosley Playground.
Yeah,
well, of course.
And we will go there,
Playground.
and we will ride the monorail to our little heart's content. And then once and for all, we can put this discussion to bed on whether or not is it Australia's best roller coaster.
Oh, it's not a discussion.
So can we put you down? Can we pencil it in for 2025 in Adelaide?
Where
are you going to be in the world then?
Well, I don't know. Can I reveal this yet? There is a chance I will be back in Australia briefly, over the summer of 2025, 2026. So that might be the time to do it.
Hey, that's just in time to catch Wizard of Oz and Jungle Rush opening. So you'll be right on time.
Yeah. When they open a year behind schedule.
Let's hope that's not the case. Yeah, look, I haven't written. Let me do some more research. I'm going to watch a documentary, Jake. As soon as I get off this call, this podcast, I'm going to go and watch it, and I will let you know if I think your opinions are correct or not.
There is also a supplementary behind-the-scenes video on Ejector Bear Time as well.
Oh, I'm here for that too. Sign me up, Kieran. Can we pencil you in for a meetup at the playground?
Oh, for sure.
Any excuse to go back to the Don Mosley playground.
And the Keith pub. That's with the best pub food in Australia.
Yeah. That's so mean. Actually, Riley didn't sound that keen on the last podcast. But
yeah, look,
that's
Riley's. We all know Riley's like, you know, he's a bit crazy. The man spun a wheel to get himself across America. Yeah. Like, you've got to be a little bit. You got to be a little bit. You'd think crazy.
Maybe Jags could do a special Wednesday night YouTube live from Keith's monorail. There could be a lot.
We should get every single Aussie theme park content creator, every guest we have on Total Bear Looney between now and then, we're going to get them all to go to Keith.
The Costa-Rati of Australia.
The population of Keith will briefly double. Just.
And I look forward to the live recording of the podcast there as well of Ejector Bear Malone, the podcast of Total Baloney, and that's the theme park cartel and any other podcast that are around the place. We could all just do a live podcast recording while on the monorail.
Yes. I'm so here for this. We're gonna take over the entire town of Keith for a day and just obnoxiously record content.
Can we do it respectfully? And I promise I won't bring my 3-meter selfie stick for my Insta 360. I'll just bring the non-conspicuous 115 centimeter one.
We have to go on a day where that gift shop is open because I want the coaster on a coaster.
Yes. We need the gift shop open.
Do you want to explain that one?
I think we should just let Dane discover it for himself when he does some research post recording.
Okay, I'm here for this. I am ready for Keith in the monorail sense, and I cannot wait for it.
Absolutely, we're gonna. This is happening now. By the way, I'm not even joking.
I'm down.
We're getting a content creator meetup going at the Keith monorail in 2025. Let's do it.
Sold.
Well, I've never been to Adelaide. I'd like to go. Maybe we could do it around something else. Does anything else happen in Adelaide? Probably not.
Well, we do need to go see the Big Lobster.
Sure.
Yes.
My secondary side quest for my whole traveling around Australia riding coasters is to see as many of Australia's big things as possible.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you've ticked off Goulburn and the giant ram.
Yes, that will be next episode, the big merino. Rambo.
Has it got a name? Or you just named it then?
They call him Rambo.
Is that because he's got giant life-size statue-sized testicles?
Well, yeah, and he's a ram.
That would make more sense. Good one, Dane.
Apparently, there used to be, in a town near where I grew up, there used to be the Big Bull, and they pulled it down because the testicles kept going missing.
No, they didn't.
Apparently.
So he kept getting turned into the big
legend.
steer?
Yes. That's the urban legend. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but apparently the someone kept stealing the big bull's big testicles.
No way. That's too much. Surely not.
I mean, I hope it's true. That'd be pretty funny. I like to think that there's somebody out there who's still got a pair of giant bull testicles. just sitting in the backyard.
You like to hope so. Just staring at them, just their Sunday morning coffee going. It's a good set of testes.
Good times.
Oh my god. Okay, we on that lovely note, we should probably start wrapping up the podcast. So, Dane, if someone is listening to this podcast and they're discovering you for the first time, where can they find you and what can they expect from your various content channels?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to apologise. Second of all, you can find me at Dane's Theme Park Life on Instagram. That's the end. At Dane_McGurk on TikTok. They're the only two social media things I do. Oh, sorry, just Dane McGurk on. I don't even know my own name on TikTok. Dane McGurk on TikTok. Dane's Theme Park Life on Instagram. And look, I'm all about the experiences of going to the parks. I'll do the odd sort of update, or if the parks drop something cool or something exciting in relation to their new lands, I'll talk about that. But I'm all about short form content, hopefully stuff under 3 minutes, and more about the experiences that you'll get to do in the parks. So follow me, have some fun, stuff like Parkamon, which I mentioned briefly. Me and myself, Ryan, tried to visit all 4 Warner Village theme parks to do as many rides as we can between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. That whole day is essentially compressed into a 2-minute video. So go and check all that stuff out. I just like to have fun. I like to visit the parks. And you can follow along there, Dane's Theme Park Life on Instagram and Dane McGurk on TikTok, which I'll be honest with you is just the same videos, but on TikTok.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Go and give Dane a follow on both platforms. Can't recommend his content enough. While you're doing that, go and find Maloney's Coasters and Ejector Bear Time on YouTube, on God, what else are we on? Instagram.
What are you on?
Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky now. I'm also on Blue Sky now, if that's a thing that people are. Maloney's Coasters on Blue Sky, and
whereas I'm still social media grandpa, just on YouTube.
So go and subscribe. And whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, of course, subscribe, follow, all of that as well. And until next week, this has been a total bunch.
A total bunch.
Absolute bunch.
Total bear-loney.
What a bunch.
What a bunch.